man was last night insane, Robert.
Yes,
insane.
Let's talk about that. What was the crazy? We had Villanova lose to St. John's. We had Houston lose to East Carolina. Virginia Tech lost to Pitt. We had it was just an insane night. Like what was the craziest thing that happened on what is it, Wednesday? Thursday, Wednesday night.
I think it was Georgetown beating Creighton in Omaha. Like Georgetown stinks. They're not good. And they went to Omaha and beat a Big East team that I think has a chance to be a Final Four team. Now, again, I know you're going to laugh at me. I get it. Well, I still haven't.
That's why you think it's the craziest thing, because you have outsized expectations for Creighton. Creighton's ups and downs would not be disappointing for anybody that had realistic expectations of what they can be.
But losing to Georgetown at home, nobody thought that was possible.
Jeff, a serious question though. You do know that Doug McDermott graduated 6 years ago, right?
And you know what? To be honest, the problem with this team is Marcus Zagorowski is not playing like an All-American this year.
I mean, I just don't think he's healthy, man. Like
I agree.
Knee surgery, he's got the hamstring injury. Like he ain't right. And the whole reason why you're betting on Creighton, like if you think they can make the run, it's because you think that they have an elite offense. Right. Then that's going to be spearheaded by the guy that was supposed to be like one of the top 2 or 3 point guards in college basketball.
Yeah, and he's not been that.
Yeah, again, it's not his fault. Like I don't think that he's right. So it kind of is what it is. So that's my biggest thing when it comes to Creighton and it comes to what's going on in the season. For me,
they can't guard. Like they're not Iowa. Like that's the thing about Creighton is we've talked about this. Iowa is limited physically with what they're able to do defensively. Creighton is not nearly as limited, but some nights they look like Iowa defensively. They look terrible. I
mean, they are a little bit like when Marcus Zagorowski is kind of like the guy at the point of attack, and we're already talking about how he's not really healthy. Like that's
fine. But normally they're not great defensive.
They don't really have a great rim protector. Like Christian Bishop at the 5 is like he's a
Kalkbrenner. I thought Kalkbrenner would be more of an impact guy by now.
But he's a freshman and he weighs like 200. He probably weighs 30 pounds less than me, and he's 6'11". So that's
250 now.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm getting up there.
You're a truck now.
I'm getting up there. All right.
What was yours? What was your biggest shock?
So it was Houston, because how about this? I had no fucking idea that any of that was happening, because first of all, it was a 6 p.m. tip, right? And normally with the early tips, like I'll try, while I'm getting dinner ready and I'm getting like kids ready for bed and everything, like I'll just put the early game on TV so like I can listen to it and kind of track along. But I couldn't find the channel that Houston, East Carolina was on. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Like Houston's going to beat them by 40. So like I had no idea what was happening until I got like 17 alerts to my phone that was like you tweeting Houston just got upset at East Carolina. This is karma for not playing Gonzaga or something like that. But like, wait.
You're like, what happened?
Houston lost at East Carolina? Come on now.
I was sort
of never bet against Jalen Gardner. That's the moral of the story. Joe Dooley, the GOAT, never bet against Jalen Gardner.
Man, he was dominant last night. I mean, my daughter had to tell me, I'm with you. I didn't know the game started early. So she told me, she's like, hey, Dad, Houston's down 9. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, it ain't going to matter. It's East Carolina. Come on. And, I mean, the craziest part is Houston had the best defense arguably in the country. They were only averaging, allowing 56 points a game going into that game. And ECU and Gardner lights them up. What'd they end up with, 80-something?
82.
82. Listen, here's my thing. Houston's good. They're good. But I refuse to put them in the top 5 just because I felt like, all right, like who have they beaten since November? Who have they beaten? The AAC stinks. It's awful this year. It's a bad league. Now they beat Boise early. That was like Thanksgiving. And then they beat Texas Tech early, November 29th. And we both know if you get Texas Tech early, like here's that Houston-Texas Tech matchup was perfect for Kelvin Sampson. He returned his whole team from last year, right? His whole team, and Chris Beard had a completely different team. So if they play again in 2 weeks, who are you taking, Texas Tech or Houston? Come on. You're taking Texas Tech. You're out of your mind.
You are much more enamored with this Texas Tech team than I am. Like I think that they've kind of like hung on for like their last couple of wins, right? It's not like
because they're tough as shit.
Yeah, and that's great. And when you're scraping out wins, that says a lot about your competitiveness. It doesn't say a ton about how great you are. Like that's the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, well, they needed a miracle to beat Texas, right? They needed something of a miracle to beat LSU. They scraped by and struggled.
They needed good coaching to beat LSU.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. They needed, they struggled with Oklahoma. They didn't look great against them. So that's the kind of thing where it's like, well, you know what, I'm going to try to fade them and try to find a spot where like I don't think that they'll cover. So I'm not. Look, I love the fact that they're winning, but I'm not overly enamored with how good Texas Tech is.
Yeah, they're not overpowering good. They're getting better. Here's my take. My take is they haven't hit their ceiling at all. Houston, right out of the gates, was so much better than Texas Tech. That's my point. And
Houston's also young too. You know, like Marcus Sasser and who's the I can never is it Tremel Mark.
Awesome.
Yeah. So like they're young too, and remember they lost one of their best players in the middle of the season. So it's not like they were a completely finished product right away. And look,
Mac had 2 points last night, by the way. 2 points.
As good as Chris Beard is, like Kelvin Sampson is a pretty damn good coach too.
No question.
So, like I'm not saying that that I'm guaranteeing a win for Houston, but it's not like I'm going to sit here and be like, yeah, Texas Tech they're definitely winning. It's a much better. Like if they played a 7-game series right now, like that thing will go 6 or 7.
Yeah, you're right. I just think it was, and I was being sarcastic with my tweet about it being karma, but think about this.
No, you weren't. Like, it really was. I believe in shit like that. But it really was. That's what you get.
All right, fine.
That's what you
fine,
get.
I believe it.
That's what you get for not wanting to, for playing Our Lady of the Lake instead of playing Gonzaga. That's what you get.
You could have played Gonzaga, Kelvin Sampson. You could have played Gonzaga. Instead, you chose to play Our Lady of the effing Lake. So you know what? I don't care about the travel. Like Houston fans were coming at me. Well, it was going to be so hard the travel to come in and go out. They're going so far away.
You just went to East Carolina. Come on now.
And you have
the AAC. There's one other team in the state of Texas in the AAC. Come on, settle down. All right. Here's what you have a chance to play the number one team in the country. You play them. It's a no lose. Now maybe he knew. After the ECU game, maybe he understood. Same thing with Villanova, right? We can get to them next. Well, let's get to them because I just tweeted this out. I asked all the St. John's fans that follow me to come join the stream.
Yeah.
And I want you to officially and formally apologize to Mike Anderson, apologize to the entire borough of Queens, and to apologize to everybody at St. John's University for slanderous takes, for the treachery that you've shown against this program. They are clearly the best team in the Big East. And look, Jeff, calling my shot right now. You ready for this?
Oh, Jesus. What?
On April 5th, when we are tipping things off for the Final Four, it's going to be Baylor, Gonzaga, St. John's, and Georgetown. Are you ready for it? Buckle up. Buckle up because it's coming, baby. Buckle up. The Big East is back.
Unbelievable. What a night. What a night. You have Georgetown winning at Creighton against the second best team in the Big East. And you have St. John's beating Villanova, the best team in the Big East, and the third best team in the country.
So in all seriousness, I'm curious your take on this. The Georgetown thing, like these are some good wins. I think I think
doesn't say anything about the program.
Yeah, I think that Pat has this thing moving in the right direction. I do believe in him as a guy that can get teams better and that can coach people up. And so I like long term, I think that he's going to be okay, but this is just like they got hot a couple times and now teams are going to stop overlooking them. For me, I kind of actually think St. John's is really good. You know, like Posh Alexander can completely control a game, like with his ball pressure and getting out and playing in transition. Like the press is kind of working a little bit. I wasn't a believer because like this 4-game winning streak was like a shorthanded UConn, Utah Valley, DePaul, whatever.
Yeah, Butler, Marquette.
Like, you go out and you kick Villanova's ass like this. Like the thing is, they completely took Villanova out of everything offensively. Like they made them look so uncomfortable, and nobody does that to it. Like that is a veteran team that was leading the nation in turnover rate. right? Like they had the lowest turnover rate in all of college basketball. And St. John's came out there and like made them look like they were a bunch of freshmen. That's a senior point guard. It's Conor Gillespie. He's an All-American. He's won a title.
Yeah. No, listen, it was an impressive performance. There's no doubt. And again, the one against UConn without Book Night, I was like, you know what? Honestly, good win. But again, it's a different deal without a lottery pick, in my opinion, in Book Night. This one was against a Villanova team that didn't play well, but a lot of it had to do with St. John's and their defense.
Yes.
And their toughness. Like that's where I thought, again, you've got Champagny and you've got Posh, and those are two guys that could be all Big East caliber players in a year or so. So you've got a chance here in the future. I still want to see if they can sustain it against good teams in the Big East. Like, that's a one-off. St. John's has had – Chris Mullen had one-offs. He beat Villanova, I think, a few years ago in a huge win. So, to me, you know, you've got coming up now at Providence, at Butler. If you're for real, you win those both. You win both of them. If you're for real, if you're a tournament team, you win them both. If you're a bubble team, you probably split. Right? And if you're a fraud, you lose both of them.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. Like, I remember, was it 2016, the Shamori Ponds year, where Mullen, like, they were 0-11 in the Big East and they beat Duke at home and then they won at Villanova. And it was just like, what? How is that possible?
Right.
All right. So real quick, we just had one question in the chat that I wanted to bounce off you from John Mitchell. First of all, he calls you the king of college basketball, which, like, come on, we don't. This dude's ego is big enough, John. We don't need to be inflating it anymore. But he said, what are the recent rumblings regarding conference tournaments that you can share?
You know, I talked to Mark Few for a while yesterday, and he said, listen, he thinks they'll have a conference tournament at the WCC, but he doesn't know how many teams are going to play. Right now, you've got a bunch of teams that are on pause in the WCC. So, you know, could it be something different? I don't think they're going to go to Vegas after talking to him. I don't think Gonzaga is comfortable going to a casino in Vegas.
That would be a horrible idea for them to do.
Right. I mean, you're protecting right now an opportunity to win a national title. Now, he's like, I want to make sure we help out BYU and give Mark Pope and BYU a chance here to get to the NCAA tournament for our league. But I think everybody's got a different agenda, and that's the problem. It's been the problem all along with college basketball, and it's the problem with the NCAA is Mark Emmert has no clue, and he can't get everybody together to be able to come up with one unified plan of here's how we're going to do the conference tournaments. Here's how we're going to play this. Instead, and when I talked to Dan Gavitt, it's, hey, however these leagues want to do it for the automatic bid, the one bid leagues, they can send whoever the hell they want. They can send, we'll take them. Whoever their automatic bid is, we'll take them. So if they want to do a conference tournament, great. So I think it's just going to depend on how many teams opt out. And if it becomes a complete shit show, they cancel their conference tournaments. I had one mid-major coach text me yesterday and say, like, there's no way we should be playing a conference tournament. Now, he's in first place in his league. So he's saying to himself, if we don't have a conference tournament, I get the automatic bid right now.
He's campaigning. He's campaigning is what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Look, I don't blame him, man. I don't hate the player, hate the game.